On May 20th, 2018, in Xinbei City, Taiwan, what seemed to be a joyful day suddenly turned into a horrific nightmare. Huang Dimin, a 27-year-old woman with a master's degree, had just accepted a marriage proposal from her boyfriend, Zhu Jun Ying. But just hours later, she was brutally murdered and dismembered by him into 7 parts. Her body parts were scattered and hidden in flowerbeds and underground drainage systems around their apartment complex. What drove a man who once showed passionate love to commit such a horrific crime against the woman he claimed to love? This is a tragedy masked in the guise of love, a journey into the dark side of a man with 2 faces. Like and subscribe to follow the terrifying events and uncover the truth hidden behind the killer's smile. On May 20th, Huang Dimin and her boyfriend Zhu Jun Ying had dinner with her family. During dinner, Zhu Jun Ying unexpectedly announced plans to marry Dimin by the end of the year and gave her 2 engagement rings and a pearl necklace. After the meal, the couple returned to their rented apartment in Bangqiao District, Xinbei City, Taiwan. However, around 10 p.m. that night, Dimin's phone suddenly went silent. She stopped replying to messages, and her Line account no longer showed read status. At first, her family thought she was just busy with work as usual and didn't worry too much. But after 2 days with no news, they grew anxious. Her parents repeatedly called Zhu Jun Ying, but he did not answer. All calls went unanswered. When relatives visited Zhu Jun Ying's home, they only received a brief reply that he wasn't there. Sensing something was wrong, Dimin's family rushed to her apartment to check. After repeatedly ringing the doorbell with no answer, they peeked through the door and saw her handbag still lying on the table by the entrance. This alarmed them, as she always carried her bag whenever she went out. Suspecting something unusual, they immediately contacted the police and requested to break in. However, police explained that under current laws, they couldn't enter private property without clear evidence of danger or a crime. Authorities also noted there had been no unusual reports from neighbors. When police suggested Dimin might just be away, her parents strongly objected. "We know our daughter, she would never disappear without a word." So who was Dimin, and what made her disappearance so unusual? The answers lie in her everyday life. At 27, Huang Dimin had completed a master's program in foreign languages at National Chengchi University, one of Taiwan's top universities. After graduation, she worked in the legal affairs department of a global pharmaceutical company as an English interpreter. There, she was quickly recognized by colleagues for her strong expertise and positive work attitude. About 6 months before the disappearance, Dimin met Zhu Jun Ying through the dating app Tinder. They quickly became close due to shared interests like a love for sports and fluency in English. After a short time, they decided to move in together. As soon as Dimin became unreachable, her family immediately suspected Zhu Jun Ying was involved in her mysterious disappearance. However, at that time, with no official police investigation underway, the family's anxiety grew by the hour. On the night of May 23rd, Dimin's brother posted on Facebook, calling on the community to help search for his sister. He stated that Dimin was living with her boyfriend in Bangqiao and expressed concern that she might be held against her will. In the post, he urged internet users to share any information or leads that could help. At the same time, the family reached out to Dimin's friends, co-workers, and even old acquaintances to gather more information. Their efforts paid off when a university friend of Dimin responded after seeing the post. After reviewing recent conversations, the friend noticed a concerning message. In it, Dimin expressed fear about her boyfriend's increasingly strange behavior. "He's truly gone mad. Last night, he was screaming and smashing things." When the friend joked, "Careful, this chat might end up in the prosecutor's hands," Dimin simply replied, "God bless me." These seemingly casual messages now revealed that she had been living in constant fear. As Dimin's disappearance gained public attention, Zhu Jun Ying suddenly published a long post on his personal Facebook page. In the post, he firmly denied ever abusing or detaining Dimin and urged people not to judge based on one-sided information. What drew attention was a screenshot attached to the post, allegedly showing a message from Dimin to Zhu. The message expressed deep remorse, admitting to wrongdoing and apologizing to Zhu Jun Ying. This immediately sparked heated debate on social media. Some users began to shift suspicion toward Min, suggesting she might have betrayed her boyfriend, causing a rift in the relationship. Within hours, public perception of Zhu Jun Ying drastically shifted, from accused villain to a heartbroken man suffering from love. But online reactions didn't stop there. Many began scrutinizing every detail in the screenshot Zhu had posted. The first red flag was that the phone in the image was in airplane mode, which disables network functions and prevents message sending or receiving. Secondly, the tone and words used in the message, such as filthy and disgusting, were completely out of character for Min. The idea that she would degrade herself using such harsh language was seen as unreasonable and out of character, according to her friends and colleagues. Moreover, the entire conversation appeared to be one-sided. Only messages from the person claiming to be Min, with no replies from Zhu Jun Ying. A crucial detail: friends and co-workers confirmed that Min had not been reachable since 10 p.m. on May 20. Yet 3 days later, just as the case was gaining public attention, Zhu suddenly released this remorseful message. Due to multiple inconsistencies, the theory that Zhu Jun Ying accessed Min's phone to fake the message and mislead the public quickly spread online. Initial sympathy swiftly turned into a wave of outrage. Many began harshly criticizing Zhu for manipulating public sentiment and distorting the nature of the incident. Around this time, a netizen revealed a shocking fact. Zhu Jun Ying was the son of a high-ranking military family in Taiwan. He had enjoyed a privileged childhood and even studied abroad in the United States. However, living far from home triggered psychological problems. He was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Instead of seeking proper treatment, he turned to substance abuse as a coping mechanism. Zhu had been arrested twice for importing illegal substances from the US into Taiwan and was sentenced to 3 years and 10 months in prison. Although his family tried to appeal and delay the sentence, their efforts failed. On May 18, 2018, Zhu was officially listed as a fugitive for deliberately avoiding his prison sentence. Despite the warrant, he continued to live under a lawful facade, concealing his criminal past. At the same time, internet users uncovered Zhu's troubled marital history. In November 2017, his ex-wife filed for an emergency protection order, accusing him of both physical and emotional abuse. This information was confirmed by the victim's younger sister, who also provided photos of her sister's injuries as evidence. According to her, Zhu had serious psychological issues, was controlling and abusive in relationships, and displayed violent tendencies. In stark contrast to his troubled past, Zhu Jun Ying presented a polished and successful image on social media. He worked as a part-time fitness coach, participated in amateur boxing competitions, and attracted many female clients thanks to his looks and charm. This glamorous facade caused Min to completely let her guard down, unaware of the lurking danger. Shockingly, just 2 days after the warrant was issued, on May 20, 2018, Zhu Jun Ying calmly attended dinner with Min's family. Tragically, that was the last time her loved ones saw her alive and well. Under pressure from the victim's family and growing public outrage, Taipei police officially launched an investigation into Min's mysterious disappearance. In the initial phase, authorities focused on reviewing surveillance footage around the apartment where Min and Zhu Jun Ying lived. Footage from 10:02 p.m. on May 20th showed Min still near the area, with no signs of anything unusual. However, that would be the last moment she was seen on camera. In the days that followed, cameras recorded only Zhu Jun Ying entering and leaving the apartment. On the night of May 21st into early May 22nd, he appeared wearing a cap, mask, and dark sunglasses, clearly attempting to disguise himself. He was seen carrying several colorful plastic bags and using the stairs instead of the elevator, heading to the back of the building, where a large flower bed was located. Following the footage, police inspected the flower bed and found disturbed soil along with remnants of plastic bags. The area was immediately sealed off for excavation. Beneath the soil, they found a tightly sealed plastic bag containing biological tissue resembling human remains. Further digging revealed 6 more similar bags buried around the flower bed. DNA testing confirmed the heartbreaking truth. All the body parts belonged to Huang Dimin. Forensic experts reported that the cuts were extremely sharp and precise. This indicated the killer had knife-handling skills and acted with cold calculation and premeditation. The case grew darker as more disturbing details emerged. The victim's head had been completely shaved, and her internal organs and part of her left leg were missing. It took police about a week of intense searching to find the remaining body parts, dumped in an old sewer not far from the neighborhood. Faced with overwhelming evidence, a nationwide arrest warrant for Zhu Jun Ying was issued immediately. On the morning of May 28th, police received an emergency call from a janitor reporting a body found at an abandoned medical clinic. Within 15 minutes, police arrived at the scene and confirmed the deceased was Zhu Jun Ying, the prime suspect in Huang Dimin's murder. His time of death was estimated between 2 to 3 a.m. that same day. Near the body, police found a suicide note and some pieces of tissue paper. In the note, Zhu admitted to committing a terrible, irreversible mistake and said he chose to end his life to atone. He also mentioned struggling with serious mental health issues and apologized to his parents, admitting he lacked the courage to confess the truth for fear of shocking them. After police contact, Zhu Jun Ying's family arrived to identify the body. For many, the suspect's death appeared to mark the end of this horrifying case. However, just hours later, the situation suddenly took a new turn. When Zhu's father arrived at the scene, he was overwhelmed with grief. He wept bitterly, held his son's body, and kept repeating, "Didn't I tell you to face it bravely? Why did you choose this path?" These heart-wrenching words prompted a funeral staff member to contact police and recount what he had heard. This valuable information led investigators to shift their entire strategy. Police focused on analyzing surveillance footage to retrace Zhu Jun Ying's final days before his suicide. At 10:02 p.m. on May 20th, security cameras recorded the last image of Huang Dimin entering the rented apartment in Bangqiao with Zhu Jun Ying. At 9:42 a.m. on May 21st, Zhu Jun Ying was seen receiving a food delivery. Police believe Dimin may have already been killed by then. Between 12:48 and 12:55 p.m. on May 21st, Zhu's mother, Liu Suchun, visited the apartment. Her 7-minute appearance during such a critical time raised many questions. From 11 p.m. on May 21st to nearly 2 a.m. on May 22nd, Zhu Jun Ying was seen repeatedly leaving and re-entering the apartment. Each time he left, he carried heavy backpacks and plastic bags. Upon return, the bags were gone and his backpack was lighter, believed to be the period when he disposed of the body. At 8:41 a.m. on May 22nd, both of Zhu Jun Ying's parents arrived at the apartment. They stayed for only 6 minutes before leaving. Security footage showed Liu carrying some bedding and dragging a large black suitcase. Their appearance and behavior so soon after the suspected murder raised serious questions. What was the purpose of their visit? What was inside that black suitcase? During a forensic inspection, police found signs of thorough cleaning in the bathroom, kitchen, and floors. Red liquid was found in the drainage pipes, and the trash contained rags and cleaning chemicals used to wipe away evidence. A sharp object hidden in a closet near the bedroom was also found to contain Huang Dimin's DNA. Based on this evidence, investigators shifted their focus toward Zhu Jun Ying's parents. Police reviewed security footage from the parents' residence in Taoyuan. At 11:30 p.m. on May 23rd, Zhu Jun Ying returned to his parents' home and stayed until the early morning. Notably, this was when Dimin's family was actively reporting her disappearance. This secretive meeting raised further suspicions of the parents possibly aiding in covering up the crime. Police summoned Zhu's parents for questioning. Liu Suchun claimed she only visited to check on Zhu's mental state and help move some belongings, insisting she lost contact with him after May 22nd. However, her statement conflicted with surveillance footage. When shown a video of Zhu returning home on May 27, she said she was asleep and unaware of his return. Zhu Dingguo, the suspect's father, initially said he last saw his son on May 22. However, camera footage clearly showed him picking Zhu up in the early hours of May 27, just one day before Zhu was found dead. Confronted with this evidence, Zhu Dingguo eventually admitted to seeing his son after the crime. He claimed he kept silent because he believed his son would eventually turn himself in. The investigation concluded that the murder stemmed from Zhu's blind jealousy, suspecting Di-min was still in contact with another man. Di-min tried to explain, but failed. Exhausted and helpless, she decided to end the relationship herself. However, for Zhu, it wasn't the end of love. It was the loss of control over the woman he believed belonged to him. Combined with his history of mental illness, the suspect lost control and committed. During the investigation, police considered prosecuting Zhu's parents due to inconsistencies and suspicious behavior. However, after reviewing the case, authorities concluded there was insufficient legal basis for criminal charges due to a lack of direct evidence. The victim's family later filed a civil lawsuit demanding compensation of 10.5 million Taiwan dollars from Zhu Jun Ying's family. They argued that the suspect's parents not only knew about the crime, but also failed to report it and may have helped cover up the evidence. However, courts at both levels dismissed the lawsuit, citing that the indirect evidence was not strong enough to prove involvement in destroying evidence. The case was officially closed in the legal system, but many unanswered questions remain. Huang Di-min's family expressed grief and frustration, believing the full truth has yet to come to light. What do you think about this case? Leave a comment below to share your thoughts on this shocking story. This video concludes here. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Hangzhou, China, New Year's Eve, 1999. A young female accountant was brutally murdered. The killer assaulted the woman before taking her life. Not stopping there, he heartlessly dismembered the victim into 30 pieces and disposed of them in various locations. Such extreme cruelty suggests a deep-seated hatred. What kind of grudge could drive someone to commit such an inhuman act? The case became an intense battle of wits between the police and the murderer. For 5 years, he taunted authorities with 8 letters, even boasting, "Killing people is easier than slaughtering pigs." So, who was he? What was the reason behind this horror? Hit like and subscribe now to uncover the shocking details of this case. Case background. Hangzhou, a bustling and picturesque city in China, on February 2, 1999, at the Hangzhou Financial Building, number 88 Zhongshan Road, a janitor entered the first-floor restroom for a routine inspection. As soon as she opened the door, a strong, putrid smell filled her nostrils, nearly making her vomit. She looked down and saw a black plastic bag on the floor. Initially, she thought it was just trash, but when she accidentally touched it, it felt soft, like raw meat. Curious, the woman cautiously opened the bag. A horrifying sight greeted her. Inside was a severed human hand. Overcome with fear, she screamed and immediately alerted the police. The Hangzhou police quickly arrived at the scene, unaware that they were about to uncover one of the most gruesome crimes in the city's history. The police opened the first plastic bag, indeed a decomposing human hand. The investigation team expanded their search, believing there were more body parts hidden nearby. Since it was the holiday season, the building was mostly empty. After 2 hours of searching, officers discovered 30 body parts of various sizes scattered across 7 plastic bags. The police immediately sealed off the scene. Forensic experts conducted a preliminary examination, determining that the victim was a young woman, estimated to be between 20 and 25 years old. Medical examiners confirmed that the victim had been assaulted before being murdered. The cause of death was suffocation. Bruises on the wrists and ankles indicated that she had been tied up before being killed. The estimated time of death was 3 days before discovery, on February 19th. But there was something unusual. There was no blood at the scene. This meant that the murder did not happen here, but in another part of the building. Police launched a full-scale search of the building. Eventually, they found a faint bloodstain on the restroom door on the first floor. Using UV lights, investigators detected traces of wiped blood stretching from the security office to the restroom. Checking the duty log, police discovered that on the night of February 19th, only one security guard was on duty: Liu Chao. Coincidentally, a female accountant had been reported missing for 3 days. Her family had contacted the police, but due to the holiday period, the case had not been taken seriously. Only after the dismembered remains were discovered did her case gain attention. The missing woman was identified as Chen Guiying, a 23-year-old accountant working in the same building. Police strongly suspected that the dismembered body belonged to Chen Guiying, but they needed solid proof. Fingerprint analysis was conducted, comparing the prints with the company's personnel records. The results were a perfect match. The victim was indeed Chen Guiying. She was born on July 12, 1976, in a small town in Zhejiang Province, China. Raised in a working-class family, her parents were small business owners. From a young age, Chen Guiying was diligent and studious. She worked hard with the hope of securing a stable job to support her family. In 1994, she was admitted to a finance college in Hangzhou. Meticulous and hardworking, she soon became one of the top students in her class. After graduating in 1997, she landed a job at Hangzhou Financial Company, a mid-sized firm specializing in accounting and auditing services. Chen Guiying was a quiet, reserved woman. Colleagues described her as friendly, but not very social. She had no complicated relationships and had never been involved in any disputes. There was no known personal connection between her and Liu Chao. They simply worked in the same building, nothing more. However, Liu Chao mysteriously disappeared. The night of February 19th, he never returned to work and cut off all contact. Bloodstains led directly to his office. At this point, police officially identified him as the prime suspect. A nationwide manhunt was launched immediately. Liu Chao was born in 1975 in Taishun County, Wenzhou, Zhejiang Province, China. In 1995, at the age of 20, he enlisted in the military and served in an armored unit. His years in the military trained him in physical endurance, patience, and survival skills, but it was also where his twisted psychology began to surface. During his service, Liu Chao heard an old soldier recount a case of a serial killer who targeted women. This story ignited his morbid curiosity. At first, it was just a dark fantasy, but over time, the urge to commit such acts grew stronger. His psychological instability worsened. Sometimes he sought out prostitutes, other times he followed women on the street, who he found appealing. In May 1998, Liu Chao was expelled from the military for repeatedly leaving his post without permission, engaging in illicit relationships, and failing to return on time. In January 1999, he moved to Hangzhou and got a job as a security guard at a financial company. When the murder happened, he had been working there for less than a month. The police searched for months, but found no trace of him. Just when the case seemed to reach a dead end, a mysterious letter arrived on March 1, 1999, at the desk of the lead investigator. It had been sent from Jilin City, Jilin Province, more than 2,000 kilometers from Hangzhou. The first letter contained only one chilling sentence written in red ink. "Killing people is easier than slaughtering pigs. I'm very close to you, but you'll never catch me." The entire police department was shaken. Someone, likely the killer, was openly mocking them. A special task force was sent to Jilin, scouring post offices and hotels in the area. But the sender had vanished. No one could confirm whether it was truly Liu Chao or an imposter. For the next 5 years, he continued sending letters to the Hangzhou police, bragging and taunting them. The locations changed frequently: Beijing, Shanghai, Chongqing, Guangzhou. Not only did he write to the police, but he also sent letters to his ex-girlfriend and former army comrades. By this point, everyone was certain the sender was Liu Chao. One letter was to boast about his crimes, while the other was to announce that they would never find him. But Liu Chao didn't just stop at writing letters. While being hunted, he continued committing even more brutal murders. June 2000, Zhongshan City, Zhejiang Province. Liu Chao checked into the Yinlu Hotel under a fake name. There he got into an argument with a hotel waitress. Feeling insulted, he decided to teach her a deadly lesson. He lured her into his room under the pretense of fixing a plumbing issue. As soon as she entered, he locked the door and murdered her. He then ransacked her wallet, took all the cash, and fled the hotel that same night. The Zhongshan police launched an investigation, but found no leads. September 2001, Wuhan City, Hubei Province. Liu Chao began assembling handguns and bullets using black market parts. To test his weapon, he decided to fire at random pedestrians, killing a middle-aged man. May 2002, Shaoning, Fuzhou, Fujian Province. Liu Chao started stalking women on the streets. He targeted lone women, attacking them in isolated areas. If they resisted, he had no hesitation in killing them. This resulted in the deaths of 4 women in a row. August 2003, Kunming City, Yunnan Province. Liu Chao stopped at a small roadside hair salon. There, he got into an argument with a female hairdresser. In a fit of rage, he decided to kill her. He followed her after work, waiting until she reached a deserted road before pulling out his homemade pistol and shooting her dead. Police across multiple provinces recorded these murders, but no one realized they were all connected to the same killer. Meanwhile, Liu Chao continued sending letters taunting the police. The 7th letter, sent in 2003, contained a faint fingerprint on the paper's edge. It matched his old military records. The police knew they had found their man. But how could they catch him when he was constantly on the move? Then came the 8th and final letter, the one that sealed his fate. It was sent from a small post office in Guangdong, but this time, Liu Chao didn't realize that police were already watching. After 5 years of hunting, authorities had finally narrowed down his hiding spots. Based on previous leads, he primarily moved between Zhejiang, Fujian, and Jiangxi provinces. Major transportation routes were being closely monitored, and most wanted lists were updated at all security checkpoints. On the afternoon of February 9, 2004, Hangzhou police received a critical tip. A man matching Liu Chao's description had been spotted in Shaoning, Fujian. Without delay, the major crime unit held an emergency meeting. A team of elite investigators was ordered to depart immediately for Fujian overnight. At 4 a.m. on February 10, 2004, the arrest team arrived in Chengguan Town, Shaoning. They split into multiple units, quietly investigating and verifying his identity. By 8 a.m., the picture was clear. Police confirmed that the suspect was indeed Liu Chao. He was staying at a cheap hostel near the town market. All surrounding routes were sealed off. However, this was a high-risk mission. Police knew he was armed, and a direct confrontation could lead to casualties. Instead of raiding the location, they decided to set an ambush. Patiently, they monitored his every move. At 3 p.m., Liu Chao emerged. He stepped out of the hostel casually, seemingly unaware of what was about to happen. As he approached a crowded street near the market, undercover officers closed in from all directions. He reacted instantly. He struggled fiercely, attempting to draw the gun hidden inside his coat. But it was too late. A police officer had already restrained him from behind. As officers tightened the handcuffs, he uttered just 2 words, "I surrender." He was immediately escorted to the police station. Throughout the journey, he showed no fear, no remorse. On the contrary, he smirked as if he was enjoying his own twisted game. As news of his arrest spread, a group of reporters was granted permission to interview him. This was the moment when all of China trembled at the confessions of a cold-blooded murderer. Facing the cameras, Liu Chao appeared excited, relaxed, and articulate, almost as if he was thrilled to be on television. A reporter asked, "What were you thinking when you committed your first murder?" Liu Chao shrugged and smiled. "The accountant was beautiful, so perfect. I enjoy destroying beautiful things because I can't have them." The reporter continued, "Weren't you afraid of killing people?" Liu Chao casually replied, "Not at all. Just like when I was a soldier, killing pigs." The entire interrogation room fell silent for a moment. How could someone be so emotionless, equating human life with livestock? During questioning, Liu Chao calmly admitted to his crimes, detailing everything as if boasting about personal achievements. From this moment, the dark secret of the 30 dismembered body parts was finally unraveled. On the night of February 19, 1999, as the Lunar New Year approached, most company employees had already left for their hometowns. Liu Chao started feeling bored. The thought of killing had been brewing in his mind since his military days. Now, he was just waiting for the right moment. At exactly 11 p.m., Zhu Jun Ying was still in her office, carefully organizing files for the next workday. Suddenly, the entire building lost power. Startled, she instinctively ran toward the security room to borrow a flashlight. Inside the security room, Liu Chao squinted, watching her approach. Under the dim glow of the emergency light, she looked stunning. Bright eyes, long hair, a slender frame. A dark desire surged within him. As she entered the security room, he pretended to be friendly. "The power's out. Probably just a minor issue. Let me grab a flashlight for you." But as soon as she turned her back, he attacked her, knocking her unconscious. He dragged her into the first-floor restroom. By now, Chen Guiying was awake, tears rolling down her face as she realized the horror that was about to unfold. "Please, don't do this," her weak voice pleaded. But Liu Chao had no intention of stopping. He carried out his brutal assault, driven by his sick obsession with experiencing the act of murder. When the victim stopped breathing, he proceeded to desecrate her lifeless body. After satisfying his twisted urges, he calmly dismembered her corpse into 30 pieces, carefully stuffing them into plastic bags. Liu Chao later revealed, at the moment of the killing, he had considered removing and cooking her internal organs. However, due to time constraints, he abandoned the idea. Throughout his 5 years on the run, he continued honing his skills, perfecting his criminal techniques. Police discovered over 30 CDs in his residence, all containing crime investigation documentaries, mafia-related content, and footage of infamous murder cases. He had studied the mistakes of past criminals to avoid capture. He even bragged that he had traveled to Thailand and Myanmar to purchase AK rifles for protection. August 1, 2004, Liu Chao's trial commenced at the Hangzhou Intermediate People's Court. The case captivated the entire nation. He was charged with multiple offenses: murder, desecration of a corpse, dismemberment, illegal possession of weapons, and evading justice for 5 years. The evidence was overwhelming. Fingerprints, DNA at the crime scene, his taunting letters to the police, and witness testimonies. After less than 30 minutes of deliberation, the court sentenced Liu Chao to death. On October 17, 2004, he was executed by firing squad on the outskirts of Hangzhou. Liu Chao was one of the most ruthless and arrogant killers in China's history. Throughout his 5-year escape, he continuously mocked the police, spreading terror with his gruesome murders. He believed he could evade justice forever, that no one could touch him. But his arrogance ultimately led to his downfall. In the end, the law prevailed. His execution was not just a fitting punishment, but a warning to those who believe they are above justice. The case was closed, but the chilling memory of Liu Chao lingers, a terrifying lesson on human depravity, on the monsters lurking in the shadows. This video has come to an end. If you found this story gripping, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so we can bring you more mysterious and emotional stories. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.
In 2009, in Guangzhou, China, a 4-year-old girl was brutally murdered and cannibalized. Her body was dismembered into several parts and stored in the killer's freezer to be consumed gradually. Even more horrifying, when caught, the killer not only admitted to his barbaric actions, but coldly remarked that the girl's meat was very tender and delicious. Too horrifying to fathom, his crime surpassed anything one could imagine happening outside of horror movies. The incident raised major questions about the perpetrator's motives and the extent of his psychological distortions, leaving psychologists, investigators, and the public in shock. This video will reveal the dark secrets, tragic stories, and chilling truths about one of humanity's most horrific chapters. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel as we delve into this chilling story. The incident occurred in a small alley in Nankun Panyu District, Guangzhou, an area previously known for its peacefulness and slow-paced lifestyle. It was the morning of January 2, 2009, in the small alley on Chagang Road, when Li Lingli's grandfather woke up early to prepare for an outing. Li Lingli, a 9-year-old girl with bright eyes and a radiant smile, was left at Miss Fuang's grocery store, a longtime family acquaintance. Miss Fuang cheerfully agreed to watch her while attending to her store. Miss Fuang's grocery store, located right in the middle of the alley, sold everything from children's candies to daily necessities. It was a place Li Lingli often visited whenever she had free time. Around 8 a.m., Li Lingli's grandfather left the house. For the next hour, Miss Fuang was busy with her store. The constant flow of customers kept her preoccupied, so she didn't pay much attention to Li Lingli, assuming the girl was playing nearby as usual. By 9 a.m., Li Lingli's grandfather returned to the store. But the little girl was nowhere to be found. "Where is my granddaughter, Miss Fuang?" he asked. Miss Fuang was also caught off guard. She hesitantly admitted that she hadn't noticed when Li Lingli left the store. "She must be playing somewhere in the alley," she replied, though her worried expression was evident. Cries of, "Li Lingli, where are you?" echoed through the small alley. Her grandfather's hurried footsteps weaved through every house corner and nook. But the overwhelming silence began to make everyone uneasy. The children who usually played with Li Lingli were questioned, but none had seen her that morning. An elderly woman at the entrance of the alley confirmed that she hadn't seen Li Lingli leave the area. "She must still be somewhere in the alley." Her words lit a faint glimmer of hope for the family. However, despite thorough searching, Li Lingli was nowhere to be found. By noon, the family was consumed with worry. Finally, they decided to call the police, marking the beginning of an unprecedented and horrifying investigation in Nankan's small alley. Upon arriving at the scene, the police quickly divided into teams to search. Though the alley didn't have many houses, its narrow and winding structure made the task exceedingly difficult. They searched every occupied house, every hidden corner, and every twist and turn of the alley. Yet all efforts were in vain. With each passing second, the family's hope grew fainter. Their minds were tormented with unanswered questions. Had the girl been taken out of the alley by someone? Or was she still there, unnoticed? When all search efforts yielded no results, the police decided to shift the investigation's focus. They began questioning local residents for any information that could shed light on Li Lingli's disappearance. Some mentioned a strange figure living at the end of the alley, a man named Along. That day, he hadn't left his house. Along, around 35 years old, lived alone in a rented house numbered 54, located at the very end of the narrow alley where few people passed. He was an outsider with no friends or family nearby. His life seemed to revolve solely around his dark, gloomy home and occasional trips to buy essentials. No one knew exactly what he did for a living. Some said he used to work as a garment worker in a nearby factory. After quitting his job, he started doing freelance work at home to make ends meet. He barely interacted with anyone and avoided greetings with the neighbors. The name Along was only known because his landlord referred to him that way. What made Along even more unsettling were the bizarre statements he occasionally uttered during rare interactions with others. One time, while watching TV with a few people at the end of the alley, a scene of war soldiers falling on the battlefield played. Along coldly remarked, "Human flesh tastes delicious." The statement stunned the group. They turned to look at him, but Along neither explained nor joked. He simply continued watching the screen with a chillingly vacant stare. One man whispered, "He must be crazy," and the group laughed nervously to brush off their discomfort. In recent years, several cases of missing children had occurred in the area. However, since the missing children were mostly from short-term tenant families, not long-term residents, no one connected the incidents. No one suspected Along, a reclusive figure who quietly lived in the dark house at the end of the alley. Despite his oddities, he had never caused significant trouble that would attract deeper attention. The police decided to focus their investigation on house number 54, where Along resided. They gathered more testimonies from neighbors who had encountered him, gradually piecing together the image of an eccentric man. One neighbor recounted, "He never greeted anyone. Sometimes he would wear women's dresses and walk around the alley. We thought it was strange, but assumed he was just an oddball." Another 53-year-old neighbor recalled, "He used to collect old women's clothing from somewhere and pile it up in his house. One time, I saw him sitting under a streetlight late at night, staring blankly into space." When the police learned of his strange behavior and statements, they couldn't rule out the possibility that Along was connected to Li Lingli's disappearance. At 4 p.m., a team of officers and Li Lingli's family arrived at house number 54 in Nankan. The iron door was slightly ajar, and the interior was pitch dark. Just as they were about to push the door open, Along suddenly appeared. "Why are you blocking the door? We just want to check if the little girl is inside," one officer said. Along didn't reply, standing there with a vacant expression, creating an eerie atmosphere. "Open the door," the officer demanded. When Along refused, the team decided to restrain him. His silence and bizarre demeanor made everyone uneasy. As the iron door opened, a foul stench overwhelmed everyone. The smell wasn't just of mold or clutter. It was the stench of death, sending chills down their spines. Inside was utter chaos. Household garbage, plastic bags, leftover food containers, and scraps of paper littered the floor. In one corner of the room was a pile of old clothes, both men's and women's, stacked high. Nearby, a rusted single bed stood against the wall. Underneath the bed, the police found some filthy cloth pieces, seemingly women's underwear, along with a knife polished to a gleaming finish. The officers searched the house thoroughly, turning over piles of clothes and scattered boxes, but there was no trace of Li Lingli. Just as they were about to leave, one officer noticed a small, old rug near a mini fridge in the corner of the room. The rug was oddly soaked with a reddish liquid seeping out under the flashlight's beam. "What is this?" The officer knelt down, touched the rug, and realized the liquid was blood. His gaze immediately shifted to the old fridge beside it. The fridge was a single-door unit, about 1 meter tall, and appeared to be the only item in the house kept clean, unlike everything else. "Open the fridge," the team leader ordered firmly. Along leaned against the wall silently. He muttered, "Don't open it. You'll regret it." The ominous warning didn't deter the police. An officer stepped forward, gripped the fridge handle tightly, and pulled it open with force. When the door swung open, everyone froze in horror. Inside the fridge was the dismembered body of little Li Lingli. Her head was placed neatly on the top shelf, her wide-open eyes seemingly screaming in silent agony. Her body had been cut into several pieces, wrapped in white plastic bags. Along was immediately restrained and taken to the police station. The officers continued searching the house. Inside a kitchen cupboard, they found a large butcher knife, still smeared with blood. On the kitchen table was a small pot containing murky brown liquid with pieces of meat, which appeared to be human skin, floating on the surface. Believe it or not, those pieces were parts of Li Lingli's body. He was cooking and eating her remains. Regarding Along, under intense questioning, he calmly admitted to killing Li Lingli and dismembering her body into 8 parts. He cooked and tasted 2 parts as a meal, while the remaining 6 parts were stored in the fridge. His chilling confession left everyone horrified. The girl's flesh was tender. "I made hot pot with soy sauce and it was delicious." No one could believe a person could remain so cold-hearted. Li Lingli's body was removed from the house, but the gruesome image would forever haunt those who witnessed it. Li Lingli's grandmother nearly fainted upon seeing the bag containing her granddaughter's head. The entire alley was enveloped in a heavy atmosphere of grief and fear that permeated every corner. Neighbors who once regarded Along as an odd but harmless figure now had to confront the horrifying reality that he was a monster in human disguise. After being taken to the station, police began to uncover Along's true identity. Along's full name was Wei Kung Lum, born in 1974 in a poor rural village in southern China. His childhood was marked by poverty and violence, with a large family, a mother who died young, and an abusive, alcoholic father. At the age of 15, Along dropped out of school and left for the city to find work. However, the isolation and trauma from his childhood never left him, becoming a dark shadow that slowly eroded his mind. During the interrogation, Along showed no fear or remorse. He answered questions in a cold, almost mechanical tone, as if recounting someone else's story rather than his own heinous crime. "I've thought about killing for a long time, but I don't want to kill just anyone. It has to be a child, because children are weak and easy to control." When asked why he chose Li Lingli, he shrugged. "She was cute. Looking at her, I thought she would be a tasty meal." His cold and emotionless words sent shivers down everyone's spine. According to Along, that morning, after seeing Li Lingli's grandfather leave the alley, he decided to act. He stood outside his house, waiting. When he saw the little girl wandering near the shop, he lured her in with candy. "I told her to come inside for candy. She was very obedient and didn't show any fear. I just closed the door, and everything went exactly as I wanted." After leading her inside, he strangled her in his room. Once she stopped breathing, he laid her body on the bed and began preparing, as if handling a meal. I used a very sharp butcher knife to cut her into pieces, ensuring no blood spilled onto the floor, he said. I placed each part into plastic bags and put them in the fridge. Along's confession not only clarified his crime, but also plunged everyone involved, police and the victim's family, into sheer horror. This was not the act of a human, but a monster. Leading psychologists were summoned to analyze Along's behavior. They concluded that he was a classic case of high-functioning schizophrenia combined with antisocial personality disorder. A psychologist noted, Along had the ability to meticulously plan and execute his crimes. However, his psyche was severely twisted, incapable of feeling pain or remorse, whether for himself or others. In Along's mind, killing and eating flesh wasn't wrong. To him, it was merely an act to satisfy his sick curiosity. His obsession with violence and human flesh wasn't sudden, but had developed since childhood. Early signs of his warped mind appeared during childhood, but no one noticed. His isolated life, devoid of close relationships, allowed these distorted thoughts to grow unchecked. Previously, several children had gone missing in the area, particularly from short-term tenant families. However, as mentioned earlier, these incidents didn't garner much attention since the families often moved away after unsuccessful searches. A woman who used to live near Along recounted, "My son went missing just a few months after we moved in. He was playing outside the alley when he suddenly disappeared. Looking back, I strongly suspect it was him." Although police collected many similar testimonies, they faced challenges as these incidents had occurred too long ago, with no direct evidence linking them to Along. Additionally, upon thoroughly searching Along's home, police found several old notebooks containing scribbled phrases such as, "Human flesh is very tender," "Don't trust anyone," and "Children are easier to catch." Inside a small metal box, they discovered numerous scraps of paper with crude drawings, mostly headless or sected human figures. Experts believed this might be how Along recorded his grotesque fantasies. When questioned about these items, Along offered no concrete answers. He either remained silent or occasionally smirked, seemingly unwilling to disclose anything further. In September 2009, at Guangzhou People's Court, the trial of Along officially began. The courtroom was packed with people, including the victim's family, journalists, and local residents, all eager to witness the sentencing. When brought into the courtroom, Along maintained his unnervingly indifferent demeanor. The prosecutor presented detailed evidence of his crimes, including his confession, DNA samples, and the items and notebooks found in his home. A video showing the search of Along's home, particularly the fridge containing Li Lingli's remains, was played in the courtroom. The images left the room silent, with many unable to hold back tears. Along's defense attorney struggled to present a convincing argument, merely claiming that his client suffered from high-functioning schizophrenia and wasn't fully in control of his actions. Psychologists testified, confirming that while Along had mental disorders, he was fully capable of planning and understanding the gravity of his actions. The prosecutor emphasized in their closing statement, "This is not just a murder case, but a premeditated act of brutality that cannot be forgiven. Along must be held fully accountable for his heinous crimes." After tense deliberations, the jury reached a verdict. Along was guilty of premeditated murder, dismemberment, and cannibalism. The court sentenced Along to death with immediate execution upon completion of legal procedures. Even when hearing the death sentence, Along remained indifferent. He neither cried out nor reacted, as if it were an event unrelated to him. The sentencing of Along closed a chapter of immense sorrow, but left unanswered questions. How many more victims did he have? Could his crimes have been prevented with earlier intervention? House number 54, the site of the crimes, was sealed off and later demolished. Local residents remarked that even though the house was gone, the memories of what happened there would forever remain a scar. This concludes the video. Thank you for following this chilling story. If you found this video captivating, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated with more fascinating stories.